You feel it, don't you? That quiet fear in your chest, in your breath, in your bones. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. Let me tell you something simple and true. Have no fear, because fear is not real. You created it. And what you create, you can destroy. You want to master life? Then act as if everything always works out. Not someday, right now. Because when you erase fear from your mind, the world bends to your will. Every master was once afraid, but they didn't shrink. They stepped forward. That's the difference. Not the absence of fear, but the refusal to bow to it. That power is already inside you. I'm just here to remind you. Principle 1, fear is a fiction you keep feeding. Let me start by cutting deep. Fear itself isn't the true enemy. It's your attachment to fear. It's the way you keep believing it, nurturing it, and treating it like some kind of advisor or protector. You feed it every day without even realizing it. Every time you choose to back away from something challenging, every time you think, what if I mess up? Or what will people think of me? You are feeding that fear. You're not just feeding it, you're worshiping it. You give it space in your mind. You make it your king. You take orders from it as if it knows what's best for you. And then you wonder why your life feels limited, why your confidence is weak, why your dreams stay on the shelf. It's because you've built a mental cage, and fear is the one locking the door. But here's the truth that most people never understand. Fear is fiction. It's not real in the way you think it is. It's a mental movie, an imaginary projection your brain creates based on assumptions, past wounds, and worst-case scenarios. It whispers lies like, you'll fail. They'll laugh at you. You'll lose everything. But those aren't truths. They're illusions, mental fog. And like fog, they vanish the moment you walk forward with purpose. You don't wait for the fog to lift you, move through it. You take a step forward, and with each step, clarity begins to return. Fear cannot survive momentum. It thrives only when you're standing still, overthinking, doubting, holding back. But the second you move even a little bit, it starts to break down. You begin to realize, wait a minute, that fear wasn't real at all. It was just a story, a shadow on the wall. So remember this, the more you believe in fear, the more power it has. The more you challenge it, the weaker it becomes. You've got to stop rehearsing those horror stories in your mind. You've got to stop feeding the beast that's been shrinking your life. Stand up, step forward. Even if your voice shakes, even if your knees tremble, walk through it. Because everything you want, everything you are, is waiting on the other side of that illusion. Principle 2, the mind creates walls, break them with action. Let me tell you something most people don't realize. The biggest prison you'll ever face is not around you. It's inside your own mind. Your thoughts build walls. Not out of bricks, but out of doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs. One small doubt becomes a brick. One failure becomes another. And slowly, without even knowing it, you build a fortress that keeps your potential locked away. You say you can't do it. You say it's not the right time. You say you're not ready. But let me ask you this, who told you that? Did someone really say you can't? Or did you just accept that thought without ever questioning it? The mind is powerful, yes, but it can also be your greatest enemy if you let it run wild. Left unchecked, your thoughts will always take the safest route, the most comfortable path. That's survival instinct, not growth. And survival mode might keep you alive, but it won't let you live. The only way to break down these mental walls is through action. Not more thinking, not waiting for the perfect moment, not collecting more advice or motivation, just action, movement, even if it's messy. even if it's imperfect. Because every time you act, you prove to your mind that the wall it built was a lie. You prove to yourself that you're stronger than the fear. The moment you take action, even a small one, the illusion begins to crack. And the more you move forward, the weaker the wall becomes, until one day you look back and realize there was never really a wall, just hesitation. Most people get stuck in their heads. They think, analyze, overthink until the opportunity is gone. But thinking without action is like revving an engine in neutral. You burn fuel, but you go nowhere. Stop waiting to feel ready. You won't feel ready. Do it anyway. That's what courage is. It's not the absence of fear, it's doing the thing, while fear is still trying to talk you out of it. So when your mind says, you can't, you move anyway. When it says, wait, you act now. When it says, what if it goes wrong? You ask, what if it goes right? Because action is the hammer that breaks the chains of doubt. Every step you take forward is a blow against fear. You don't think your way to freedom, you move your way there. Never forget this. The mind is a brilliant servant, but a dangerous master. Take back control. Don't let hesitation define your life. Let action be your answer, your medicine, your rebellion. Walk straight through the wall. And when you do, you'll discover there was never a wall at all. Principle 3, see failure as fuel, not a foe. Most people live in fear of failure, like it's some kind of death sentence, as if making a mistake will ruin them forever. But let me ask you something. Where did that idea come from? Who taught you that failing means you're weak? Who said that if you fall down, you're done for? I'll tell you who. A society obsessed with perfection. A culture that praises the final result but hides the struggle it took to get there. You see the gold medal, but not the sweat. You see the highlight reel, but not the sleepless nights behind it. And because of that illusion, you begin to think failure means you're broken, that you're not good enough. But let me tell you the truth I learned through broken bones, bruised ego, and silent nights alone in the training hall. Failure is not your enemy. It is your fuel. It's your teacher, your sharpened blade, your most loyal, painful friend. Every time you fall flat on your face, you are handed something that comfort will never give you clarity. You learn who you are. You see what doesn't work. You get humbled, yes, but you also get refined. Failure burns away arrogance. It exposes your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. It forces you to evolve. Do you want to know who never fails? People who never try. People who play it safe. People who stay quiet and small and hidden because they fear looking foolish. But guess what? They also never grow, never rise, never build anything real. Because real growth demands risk. It demands discomfort. It demands a willingness to fall down and get up again anyway. You think the greats avoided failure? No. They walked straight into it. Again and again. They bled in the arena while the crowd laughed. They kept going when nobody believed. They stood back up after being knocked down 100 times, and that's why they became great. Not because they never failed, but because they never stayed down. You must rewire your relationship with failure. When it comes, don't cry about it. Study it. Ask yourself, what did I learn? What did I miss? What do I need to strengthen? Turn your pain into a plan. Turn your setback into strategy. Every scar you earn is proof that you stepped into the arena. And each time you rise, your mind becomes stronger, your spirit more unshakable, your path more refined. And let me make this clear, you are allowed to fail. You are not allowed to quit. Failure is a bruise, not a tattoo. It's a chapter, not your entire story. Stop fearing it. Start using it. Let it sculpt you into the version of yourself that comfort could never produce. So the next time you've fallen, you will stand back up with fire in your eyes. Look failure in the face and say, thank you. Now move, because you've got places to go. And no imaginary enemy is going to stop a warrior like you. Not today, not ever. Principle 4, become a master of inner stillness. Let me tell you something most people never take seriously. The most powerful man in the room is not the loudest, it's the calmest. In a world that constantly pulls you into noise, into reaction, into emotional chaos, stillness becomes your greatest weapon. But stillness is not laziness. It's not passivity. It's not weakness. Noit is control. It is precision. It is power under pressure. You see, most people are ruled by what happens around them. Someone insults them, they explode. Plans change, they panic. They get rejected, they spiral. Their emotions control them like strings on a puppet. But the master, the true warrior, knows how to remain centered, even when everything around him is on fire. He doesn't let the world decide who he becomes. He chooses who he will be in every moment, and he chooses calm. But that calm is not gifted. It is trained. It is built day by day through one simple but difficult practice: silence, sitting still, watching your thoughts instead of obeying them, listening to your breath without judging it, learning how to be alone with yourself without running away. Most people can't do this. They need noise. They need distraction, because deep down, they are afraid of what they'll find in that silence. But here's the truth. If you can't sit with your mind, you'll never master it. And if you don't master your mind, it will master you. When you train inner stillness, you become like water fluid, adaptable, but impossible to break. You respond instead of react. You feel emotion, but you are not ruled by it. You see chaos, but it does not enter you. You stand firm when others shake. You move with awareness when others rush blindly. And most importantly, you make decisions not from fear or panic, but from clarity. This kind of control makes you dangerous in the best way, because now no one can manipulate you, not with praise, not with insults, not with fear. You're no longer dancing to the music of the world. You found your own rhythm, and it's unshakable. You don't chase attention. You don't beg for peace. You carry it within you. You become the calm in the storm. But don't mistake stillness for doing nothing. No, stillness is preparation. It's where the inner work is done. The real battles are fought in silence, long before the sword is ever drawn. You train your breath. You clear your thoughts. You strengthen your awareness. And then, when the challenge comes, when life throws its punches, you don't flinch. You flow. You move with precision, like a man who already saw the fight coming in his mind. So ask yourself, when was the last time you sat still and just listened? When was the last time you turned off the noise and turned inward? That is your next level. Not doing more, not reacting faster, but slowing down to master your own energy. Because once you do that, you'll realize something beautiful. You are not your thoughts. You are not your fear. You are not your anxiety. You are the still awareness behind it all. And when you touch that place, when you find that stillness and make it your home, fear loses its grip. The world may shake, but you remain unmoved, calm, ready, unstoppable. That's the power of mastering your inner world. And no one can take that from you. Principle 5. Condition your mind with this one thought: it always works out. Let me share something with you that changed the course of my life. Not a technique, not a secret move, but a mindset. A single, powerful belief that acts like armor for the mind. It's this: it always works out. Say it with me. Again, let the words sink in. Not because you're naive, not because life is easy, but because you've chosen to build a mind that refuses to be broken by circumstances. A mind that is trained to see through the storm and believe in the sunrise on the other side. You see, most people walk around with minds filled with fear. What if it goes wrong? What if I fail? What if they leave? What if I lose? They rehearse worst-case scenarios so much that they start to live in a prison they built with their own imagination. But here's the truth. Your mind will believe whatever you feed it. If you feed it panic, it will give you anxiety. If you feed it doubt, it will give you hesitation. But if you feed it strength, confidence, trust it, will start building a life that reflects that belief. When you repeat to yourself, "It always works out for me," you are not just saying words, you are rewriting the code of your inner world. You are telling your subconscious that no matter how chaotic life looks on the surface, there is meaning behind it. There is order behind the confusion. That even when it doesn't go your way, it's going a better way. A way you may not see yet, but one that will make you stronger, smarter, and sharper. This mindset doesn't make life perfect, it makes you powerful. Because now, you don't fall apart when things don't go according to plan. You don't break when others would quit. You stand in the middle of uncertainty, and you say, "Even this will work out for me." And you say it not with fake confidence, but with a knowing that comes from training your mind, just like you train your body. Repetition, discipline, intention. I want you to understand something clearly. Your external life is shaped by your internal belief. Most people are trying to fix their problems from the outside, change the job, change the relationship, change the location, but the real transformation happens when you shift your belief system. When you move from fear to faith, from doubt to trust, from panic to presence. And no, I'm not talking about blind faith. I'm talking about trained belief. A mindset that you build every single day by what you choose to focus on. You build it when you refuse to let setbacks define you. When you talk back to fear. When you wake up and say, "I don't know how, but I know this. It's all part of the plan." And when you live with that mindset, something strange happens. Your energy shifts. Your decisions become sharper. Your stress lowers. And slowly, life begins to reflect the calm that now lives inside you. People will notice. They'll say, "Why are you so calm?" And you'll smile and say, "Because I've trained myself to believe it always works out." That belief makes you unstoppable. Because now you don't need things to be perfect to keep going. You don't wait for conditions to be safe to take action. You don't collapse at every obstacle. You keep moving. You keep building. You keep showing up. And the universe respects that kind of energy. The world opens doors for the man who refuses to doubt the path, even when it's dark. So starting today, I want you to erase that old voice in your head. The one that says, "It's going wrong. You're failing. It's too late." And I want you to replace it with something stronger, something unshakable. "It always works out for me. Even this, especially this." Say it in pain. Say it in fear. Say it when nothing makes sense. Say it until your mind begins to believe it, until your body starts to relax, until your heart starts to trust the process again. Because once your mind is conditioned to believe in the outcome, your energy changes. And when your energy changes, your reality follows. That's the law. That's the power of belief. That's the warrior's mindset. So I'll say it again, and you say it with me this time. It always works out. Now live like it, speak like it, train like it, and Watch how the world starts bending in your favor. Principle 6. Walk into the fire. You are fire. There's something I want you to understand right now, not later, not after more pain, not when it's convenient, right now. That fear you're running from, that discomfort you're avoiding, that challenge that makes your stomach twist and your heart pound. You don't escape it by backing away. You don't grow by turning your back on it. You evolve by walking into it. Head held high, eyes wide open, heart pounding with courage. Why? Because you are not made to avoid fire. You are fire. Life is going to test you. Not once, not twice, but again and again. The storms will come, the walls will rise, and yes, the fire will get hot. But what you need to realize is this: you were not built for safety. You were built for strength. You were not designed to stay comfortable. You were designed to burn bright, to blaze, to transform anything you touch. Most people spend their whole lives avoiding the very situations that would make them powerful. They say things like, "I'm not ready," or "What if I fail?" or "I don't want to get hurt." And in that fear, they shrink. They hide. They become smaller than they were meant to be. But avoiding the fire doesn't make you safe. It makes you soft. It makes you afraid of your own potential. It makes you doubt your own ability. And little by little, the life force inside you dims until all that's left is regret and stories of what could have been. But a true warrior, walks into the fire, not because it's easy, not because it doesn't burn, but because on the other side of that fire is a new version of himself. A version forged in pain, discipline, and unshakable clarity. You think the path to greatness is smooth? You think confidence comes from staying comfortable? No. Confidence comes from survival. From facing the flames and realizing, I didn't die, I became stronger. You must stop treating fear like a wall and start treating it like a doorway, a signal, a challenge. When something scares you good, that means it's real. That means it matters. That means it's exactly where you need to go. Because your mind doesn't fear the small things. It fears the things that have the power to transform you. It fears the unknown, because the unknown is where your next level lives. Think about it. What are you avoiding right now? A conversation? A decision? A leap of faith? That's your fire. That's your proving ground. And the only way forward is through it. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, it will be hard. But what's the alternative? Living a life where you never find out what you're capable of, where you stay boxed in by fear, tiptoeing through life hoping nothing shakes you too hard. That's not life. That's slow death. A life without fire is a life without transformation. And transformation is the reason you're here. Let me tell you something about fire. It doesn't just burn. It purifies. It strips away the lies, the masks, the weakness. When you step into the fire, you lose what you don't need: fear, doubt, ego. And what's left behind is the real you, raw, honest, unbreakable. But here's the secret most people miss. The more you walk into the fire, the less it scares you. Why? Because you begin to realize that you are stronger than you thought. You begin to see that fear was just smoke, and courage is the flame that clears it away. You don't become fearless overnight. You become fearless through repetition, by choosing to walk into fire over and over until your spirit becomes heat resistant, until your soul glows with confidence. Until the world starts to wonder what's driving you, and the answer is simple. You burned away everything that was holding you back. Start practicing it now. Next time you feel that fear, that hesitation, that maybe I shouldn't, don't pull back. Lean in, walk toward it, and say to yourself, I am fire. Every time you do that, you rewrite your identity. You go from a person who avoids to a person who confronts, from a person who hesitates to a person who acts, from a person who fears to a person who burns through fear. And it's not just about big life decisions. It's in the small moments too. The alarm goes off early and you want to stay in bed? Get up. That's walking into the fire. Someone disrespects you and your voice wants to stay silent? Speak. That's walking into the fire. You've been dreaming about doing something, but you've been stalling for weeks, months, years. Start now. That's the fire. You walk into it, and every time you do, you become more of who you truly are. You are not here to be lukewarm. You are not here to tiptoe around the heat. You are here to ignite, to light up the space around you, to set an example so strong that people feel your presence like heat on their skin. But that doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. It happens when you say, I will no longer avoid the things that scare me. I will face them. I will burn through them. I will rise through them. Because that's what fire does. It doesn't retreat. It consumes. It transforms. And so will you. So the next time life brings the flames, don't run. Smile. Step forward. And say with full conviction, I've been waiting for this. Let's see what I'm made of. Because once you walk into the fire and survive, something changes forever. You no longer fear the fire. You become it. Principle 7. Fear dies when you become who you truly are. There comes a moment in every life when you have to face a mirror, not the one on your wall, but the one in your soul. And in that moment, you must answer a question that most people run from for their entire existence. Am I living as who I truly am, or am I just performing? You see, fear thrives in pretending. It grows in the gap between who you are and who you think you have to be. When you wear masks trying to please, trying to fit in, trying to be accepted, you hand your power to fear. Every time you silence your truth to make others comfortable, you shrink your soul. Every time you second-guess your instincts because you're worried about being judged, you give fear a seat at the table. You become a shadow of yourself, present, but not alive. Visible, but not real. That's the world we live in. A world of image, filters, likes, and expectations. A world where we're taught to be marketable, not authentic. Polished, not powerful. Quiet, not courageous. And in that world, fear becomes your master. Because you are always one wrong move away from rejection. One honest word away from being seen as too much. One bold action away from being misunderstood. But let me tell you something that changed my life forever. Fear dies the moment you become who you truly are. Not a version of you. Not a diluted, edited, polished imitation. The real you. The wild you. The spiritual you. The honest, flawed, but deeply powerful you. Because when you strip away all the performance and return to your truth, fear has nothing left to hold on to. Fear feeds on your attachment to the world's approval. It whispers, what if they don't like you? What if they laugh? What if you fail in front of everyone? But when you walk in your truth, you stop playing their game. You no longer care for applause because your validation comes from within. You no longer fear judgment because you are not pretending. You're just being. And here's the secret. The moment you stop trying to be liked by everyone, you become magnetic to the right people. The moment you speak with your own voice, the ones who are meant to hear you will find you. And the ones who leave, let them. You're not here to please the world. You're here to become the world's reminder of authenticity. But this kind of power isn't given, it's earned. You must go through the painful process of stripping away who you are not. You must confront the layers of false identity you've picked up over the years, expectations from parents, judgments from strangers, wounds from betrayal, comparisons from social media, and burn them down. Not with hate, but with clarity, with love for your own freedom. It's going to be hard. You'll lose people. You'll disappoint some. You'll feel naked, vulnerable, exposed. But on the other side of that discomfort is something rare. Peace. Peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. Peace that isn't based on approval. Peace that comes from knowing that you're no longer running. You've stopped hiding. You've come home to yourself. And when you reach that state, fear becomes irrelevant. It doesn't disappear, no. It just loses its voice. It may still knock on your door, but you don't answer anymore because you're too busy living as who you are not, who they told you to be. Look around you. Most people are asleep inside their own lives. They follow routines they hate, surround themselves with people who don't understand them, speak in voices that aren't their own, and wonder why they feel anxious, depressed, or lost. It's not because life is unfair, it's because they're not living as themselves. But you, if you're still reading this, then something inside you is waking up. Something inside you is tired of pretending, tired of fitting in, tired of holding your truth like a secret weapon you never use. And that part of you, that's your real self. That's the fire trying to break through the shell. Let it, set it free. You don't need permission to be yourself. You don't need the world's acceptance. You don't need a perfect past, a big platform, or a flawless image. You just need courage. The courage to show up. The courage to speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. The courage to walk alone for a while until you attract your true tribe. Because fear has no power over a person who is unapologetically themselves. Fear cannot manipulate someone who no longer needs validation. Fear cannot paralyze someone who has decided that they would rather be real and rejected than fake and accepted. So I challenge you, take off the mask. Speak the words you've been holding back. Create the thing that scares you. Let go of the people who only love the version of you that hides. Stand in your truth, even if you stand alone. And when you do, when you show the world your full self, your wild self, your untamed, unfiltered, unafraid self, you will feel fear die. Not with a bang, not with a scream, but with a quiet whisper that says, you don't need me anymore, because you finally remembered who you are. And that kind of remembrance, that kind of inner return, that's freedom, that's power. That's where fear ends and your real life begins. Principle 8, stop asking for permission. Your power was never meant to be approved. There's a hidden chain around most people's minds. You can't see it, but it's there, and it's stronger than steel. It's made of one simple habit, constantly waiting for permission. Permission to speak, permission to act, permission to dream, permission to live, from parents, from teachers, from bosses, from society, from people who have no idea who you really are. And let me tell you something that might shake you. If you keep asking for permission, you will spend your entire life on your knees, bowing to opinions, chasing approval, living in fear of rejection. That is not a life. That is quiet slavery. And most people are trapped in it. From the moment you were born, you were trained to seek permission. Don't speak unless spoken to. Raise your hand, follow the rules, get the certificate, do what's expected. And if you ever try to step outside that invisible lane, if you try to live on your own terms, they pull you back. Who do you think you are, they ask. Because you never questioned that question, you step back into line. You shrink. But I'm here to remind you, you don't need permission to be powerful. You don't need someone else to sign off on your greatness. You were not put here to be approved. You were put here to be unleashed. Look around you. The people who shaped the world, leaders, creators, warriors, they didn't wait for someone to tell them it was okay to be bold. They didn't send a request to the world asking, "May I live fully?" No. They decided. They declared. They stepped out of the line, out of the system, out of the box, and they paid the price for their freedom, and because of that, they lived. But here's the truth most people avoid. Freedom will cost you. It will cost you your comfort. It will cost you some friendships. It will cost you the illusion of safety. Because when you stop asking for permission, people get uncomfortable. Why? Because your courage shines a light on their fear. Your boldness threatens their excuses. Your truth makes them question their own silence. But you don't owe anyone comfort. You don't owe anyone your obedience. You owe yourself the life that's been burning inside you, the dreams you've been silencing, the talents you've been hiding, the truth you've been whispering when no one's around. It's time to stop dimming your light so others won't squint. It's time to stop waiting for a green light that was never coming. You are the signal. You are the permission. You are the authority. So what if they don't like it? So what if they don't understand? So what if you fall? That's not failure, that's proof that you were brave enough to try. And when you fall, you don't ask for someone to pick you up. You rise on your own, with blood in your mouth and fire in your eyes, and you say, "I decide who I become." This isn't about arrogance. This is about ownership. Ownership of your time, your energy, your path, your voice. Because every moment you spend waiting for someone else to approve of you is a moment you've surrendered your power. And once you give it away long enough, you start to believe you never had it to begin with. But you do. You've had it since the beginning. You've had it in every moment. You felt different. In every idea you buried. In every instinct you ignored to make others comfortable. That power never left. It just went quiet. And now it's time to wake it up. So what does this look like? It looks like speaking even when your voice shakes. It looks like starting the business without asking if you're ready. It looks like creating the art, writing the words, telling the story that you were afraid people wouldn't like. It looks like making choices from your inner knowing, not from public opinion. It looks like walking away from environments that shrink you. It looks like walking alone if you have to. Because the moment you stop needing permission is the moment your life begins to expand. The world opens up not because it changed, but because you changed. You stopped playing small. You stopped asking, "Am I allowed?" and started declaring, "I choose." You choose who you become. You choose what you build. You choose where your energy goes. And once you fully own that, you become unstoppable. Let me be clear. The people you've been waiting on, the ones whose approval you secretly crave, they're not thinking about you. They're trapped in their own fears. They're asking for their own permission. Don't let them write your destiny. Don't let them delay your flight. You don't need another sign. You are the sign. You don't need someone to hand you your power. You were born with it. And you don't need to be perfect to begin. You just need to begin, because once you decided, truly decide, that you are done waiting for the world's approval, a strange kind of peace enters you. You stop chasing. You stop explaining. You stop begging. You start creating. You start building. You start becoming. And the fear that used to hold you down, it vanishes. Because fear only controls the mind that still seeks permission. But your mind is now free. And a free mind cannot be manipulated. It cannot be silenced. It cannot be stopped. So remember this. You were not born to be liked. You were born to be legendary. You were not made to follow. You were made to lead yourself. And you don't need permission to become the fullest, boldest, most unstoppable version of who you already are. You just need to stop asking and start becoming right now. Principle 9. The more you face fear, the smaller it becomes and the bigger you become. There is something you must understand about fear. It does not vanish by thinking about it. It does not dissolve with time. It does not leave simply because you want it to. Fear is a parasite. And like any parasite, it feeds on inaction. It grows stronger when you hesitate. It multiplies when you avoid. It takes root when you hide. But the moment you face it, really face it, you starve it. Most people make one critical mistake in life. They wait for fear to disappear before they act. They wait for courage to magically show up. They wait to feel ready. But that moment never comes. Because fear is not something you outgrow. It's something you outwalk. One step at a time. One bold move after another. You don't become fearless by avoiding the things that scare you. You become fearless by proving to yourself that fear is not the end, that fear is not fatal, that fear is just a thin curtain of smoke you pass through to claim the strength that was already inside you. Every time you walk toward fear, you shrink it. What once looked like a giant becomes a shadow. What once made you sweat becomes something you can smile at. The more you face it, the smaller it becomes. And here's the best part: you become bigger. Not in size, but in presence, in confidence, in depth, in truth. Your spirit starts to expand. You stop flinching. You stop second guessing. You stop walking with the quiet fire of someone who's seen fear and kept moving anyway. That's the path of the warrior. Not someone who doesn't feel fear, but someone who chooses not to obey it. Let me ask you this. What are you avoiding right now? What conversation? What decision? What leap? Where in your life are you making yourself small just to feel safe? That is the exact place where you must go. That's your growth zone. Not the place where you feel confident and comfortable, but the place where your breath shortens, where your hands shake, where your voice quivers. Because in that trembling, there is truth. In that discomfort, there is raw, untapped power waiting to be unlocked. It's easy to pretend we're brave when life is quiet, when nothing is at stake. But real courage is revealed in the fire, in the storm, when the stakes are high and the fear is real, and you still move forward, not because you're reckless, but because you've made a decision. I will not let fear control the outcome of my life. And the beauty is, this principle doesn't just apply to the big things. It applies in the daily, ordinary moments. Fear shows up in subtle ways. The hesitation to speak your truth. The anxiety before trying something new. The procrastination that masks perfectionism. The need to please everyone so you won't be judged. These are all forms of fear. And every time you give in to them, you reinforce the idea that fear is in control. But every time you lean in just a little, you break that belief. You start small. You do the thing you're avoiding, even if it's imperfect. You make the call. You speak the words. You take the risk. You show up. And in doing that, you're not just checking a task off a list. You are retraining your nervous system. You are rewiring your identity. You are becoming someone who acts despite fear, not because they're fearless, but because they're focused. Because what you focus on grows. If you focus on fear, it will grow bigger in your mind than it actually is. But if you focus on your response to fear, your decision to act anyway, then you grow bigger than the fear. That's how you flip the script. That's how you turn fear into fuel. And here's something even deeper. Fear is a mirror. It shows you where your freedom lives. If you fear rejection, that's where you're enslaved. If you fear failure, that's where your limits lie. If you fear speaking, that's where your voice is trapped. So when fear appears, don't run from it. Thank it. It's revealing the exact area where your next breakthrough lives. It's pointing to the chains you're still wearing. And your job is to break them not later, not tomorrow, now. The more you face fear, the more you understand its true nature. It was never the enemy. It was your initiation, a gatekeeper to a more powerful version of you, a test to see if you're serious about becoming who you were meant to be. And every time you pass that test, your confidence doesn't just grow, it compounds. It builds layer by layer until you walk differently, speak differently, think differently. You don't crumble at resistance. You don't fear uncertainty. You lean into it. You become bold not as a performance, but as your natural state. This is how you evolve. One step into fear at a time. Not by waiting for fear to die, but by walking through it so many times, it learns your name and steps aside. And here's the final truth. If you want a life that's extraordinary, you're going to have to do things that scare ordinary people. You're going to have to step into rooms where your knees shake. You're going to have to say yes when everything inside you wants to hide. You're going to have to keep moving, not because fear disappeared, but because you did not disappear. You showed up. You kept showing up, and every time you did, fear shrank, and you grew. So stop waiting for the fear to vanish. Walk anyway. Speak anyway. Build anyway. Live anyway. Because the more you face fear, the more it fades. And the more it fades, the more you realize fear was never as strong as you. You just hadn't met the strongest version of yourself yet. But you're meeting him now, step by step, flame by flame, choice by choice. And with each step forward, you become unstoppable. Principle 10. Fear can't survive a mind that chooses purpose over panic. There is a war happening inside your mind. Every day, every moment, in every decision, two voices are fighting for control. One whispers fear. It tells you to panic, to play small, to protect yourself from discomfort. The other speaks with quiet strength. It tells you to move forward, to rise up, to live with intention and courage. One is instinctual, reactive, desperate to avoid pain. The other is purposeful, grounded, determined to create meaning. And here's the truth most people never realize. Whichever voice you choose to obey, that becomes your life. Fear is loud. It shows up uninvited. It doesn't wait to be asked. It barges into your thoughts at the worst moments, before the big step, before the brave word, before the leap into something new. It fills your head with what ifs. What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I lose everything? And if you don't know how to respond, panic takes over. Your heart races. Your breath shortens. You freeze. And just like that, fear wins not because it was stronger, but because it was louder. But what if I told you fear is only as powerful as your willingness to believe it? What if I told you that beneath all that noise, you have another option, purpose? And purpose isn't loud. It doesn't scream for attention. It waits for your decision. It waits for you to get quiet, to get clear, and to say, this is why I'm here. This is what I'm committed to. The moment you choose purpose, everything changes. Because purpose gives your pain a direction. It gives your fear a job. It doesn't make the anxiety vanish, but it gives you a reason to keep moving through it. Let me explain this clearly. Fear and purpose cannot live in the same seat. One must lead and one must follow. Fear will try to take the wheel it wants, to drive your decisions, your identity, your future. But if you let purpose take the front seat, fear has no choice but to move to the back. It still talks. It still complains, but now it doesn't control the journey. You must become the kind of person who no longer lets fear dictate their direction. This is not something you wait to feel. This is something you decide, because purpose is a decision, not an emotion. It's the quiet fire inside you that says, even if I'm scared, I'm still going. Even if I fail, I will still rise. Even if no one believes in me, I will not quit on myself. Most people don't live with that kind of fire. They live in reaction. They live in fear of fear. Their actions are dictated by what they're trying to avoid, not what they're trying to build. And that's why they feel empty. That's why their lives feel heavy. Because without purpose, everything becomes panic. Every challenge becomes a crisis. Every setback becomes the end. Every obstacle feels personal. But with purpose, you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get clearer. When your purpose is strong enough, you stop making excuses. You stop letting emotions decide your effort. You stop waiting for motivation, because your actions are no longer based on how you feel in the moment. They're based on who you've decided to become. That's the power of purpose. It anchors you, it guides you, it quiets the panic, because you know what you're here for. Let me give you an example. Say you're standing on the edge of something big, a decision, a move, a creation, a conversation, and fear shows up. Of course it does. That's what fear does. It shows up right when you're about to expand. And your mind starts racing. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? What if they don't understand me? Panic creeps in. Doubt takes over. Now, at that moment, you can let fear run the show. You can back away. You can stall. You can overthink. Or you can pause, breathe, and ask one simple question. Why did I start this in the first place? That's the voice of purpose. When you reconnect to your why, fear loses volume. When you remember what you're here to Tao-ho, you're here to become, the panic fades into background noise. It doesn't disappear, but it no longer controls you. This is a muscle. You must train it daily. Wake up and remind yourself of your purpose. Speak it out loud. Write it down. Move with it in your steps. Let it shape how you speak, how you act, how you show up. Because without purpose, fear will invent one for you. It will tell you that your job is to stay safe, to be accepted, to avoid all pain. But you weren't born for safety. You were born for significance. Purpose isn't always flashy. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it looks like doing the small things consistently, even when nobody is watching. But when it's real, it gives your life backbone. You stop bending to every wave of emotion. You stop breaking at every difficulty. You hold steady. You focus. You build. And with each step, your fear gets smaller and your mission gets clearer. This is how warriors are made. Not in moments of glory, but in moments of clarity. In moments when fear was loud and real and you still chose purpose over panic. So the next time your heart races, the next time your thoughts spiral, the next time fear pulls you into a pit of overthinking and doubt, don't run, don't freeze, choose. Choose your mission, choose your strength, choose the reason that you started. Because once you anchor your mind in purpose, you stop reacting, you start leading. And fear, it simply can't survive in a mind that is laser focused on becoming something greater. It doesn't stand a chance. Because panic may scream, but purpose never flinches. Purpose moves. Purpose builds. Purpose transforms. And you, when you choose it, become unstoppable. Principle 11. The only way out of fear is through mastery. Master yourself. Master everything. Let me speak to the warrior in youth, the one who's been hiding beneath the noise, the fear, the hesitation. You were not born to live your life in defense. You were not made to be controlled by fear. You were created to master yourself. And when you do that, when you learn to govern your thoughts, direct your emotions, command your actions, you become untouchable. Because here's the truth. Fear will never fully disappear. There's no switch to turn it off forever. But fear doesn't have to be your enemy. It becomes irrelevant when you rise above it. And the only way to rise above it is to master yourself. Self-mastery is not about perfection. It's not about controlling everything around you. It's about learning how to stay centered, calm, and clear no matter what's happening outside of you. You can't control the storm, but you can control the sailor. That's the mindset of mastery. You've seen it before. In the heat of chaos, some people panic. Others move like water calm. Smooth, precise. They're not lucky. They're not born different. They're trained. They've built inner structure, mental strength, emotional resilience, spiritual grounding. They face the fire over and over until the flames no longer burn, they fuel. So how do you build that? How do you master yourself? It begins with one decision. Stop waiting for the world to calm down and start training your mind to remain calm in the middle of it. Because let me tell you, this fear doesn't live in reality. Fear lives in the mind, in the stories you repeat, in the images you play on loop. What if I fail? What if they leave? What if I'm not enough? These aren't facts. They're mental programs. And mastery means rewriting the code. It means catching yourself in the loop and breaking it over and over again until the old patterns no longer fit the new version of you. Every moment of hesitation is a chance to train. Every trigger, every frustration, every wave of anxiety, it's all an invitation to master your state. Not suppress it, not ignore it, understand it, then move beyond it. Self-mastery is built on 4 foundations. Awareness. You must become aware of the thoughts you're thinking, the emotions you're feeling, the energy you're giving off. You can't master what you can't see. Most people live in reaction because they don't realize they're reacting, they're on autopilot. But awareness flips the switch. It brings your unconscious patterns into the light. Discipline. Once you're aware, you must train. Just like the body, if you want to get stronger, you train consistently. Same with the mind. Same with emotion. Discipline means doing what's right over what's easy. It means choosing growth over comfort. It means showing up for your inner work even when no one's watching. Emotional control. This isn't about shutting down your feelings. It's about learning how to feel everything without letting it take the wheel. Fear will come, anger will rise, sadness will knock. But you, the master, you acknowledge the emotion, you breathe through it, and you act from wisdom, not impulse. Alignment. Mastery means living in alignment with who you really are, not who the world told you to be. It means speaking your truth, living your values, walking your own path, even if no one claps. Because the strongest power comes not from performance, but from authenticity. When you train yourself like this day by day, you build something unstoppable. Inner peace. And inner peace doesn't mean life is easy. It means you are unshakable. It means the fear that once paralyzed you becomes background noise. It means you don't get lost in overthinking because your mind is sharp. It means you don't beg for motivation because your mission pulls you forward. And yes, this takes work. But what's the alternative? Living life on your knees, hoping fear leaves you alone, constantly second-guessing every move, every word, every dream, waiting for some miracle to save you from your own self-doubt. No, that is not your story. Your story is this. You rise. You train. You fall and get up stronger. You build a mind that doesn't run from fear, but studies it, understands it, and walks through it. You stop being a slave to your old identity and start sculpting a new one, brick by brick, breath by breath. You become the kind of person who no longer needs the world to be perfect because you have built peace within. You become the kind of person who walks into the unknown with steady eyes and a steady heart, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. Let me say this loud and clear. Fear has no power over a person who has mastered themselves. Because once you master your mind, your emotions, your energy, you master your world. The outside no longer dictates the inside. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are the cause. You are the driver. You are the leader of your own internal empire. And from that place, from that deep foundation, you can face anything. Pain, you'll move through it. Loss, you'll find strength in it. Change, you'll adapt and evolve because you know who you are. You've trained too hard. You've faced too much. You've risen too many times to ever be taken down by fear again. So remember this. The world may stay noisy. The fear may still knock. But you are the storm that silences fear. You are the eye within the chaos. You are the master of self. And once you master yourself, there is nothing left to fear. Principle 12. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision that fear will not decide your life. Let me tell you something most people never fully understand. Courage isn't some rare gift reserved for the fearless. It's not some magical trait that only a few heroes are born with. Courage is a decision, a deeply personal, often quiet decision to act, even when fear is still screaming inside you. You see, people waste their lives waiting for the fear to vanish, waiting for perfect timing, waiting until they feel ready. And in that waiting, they slowly forget who they are. They lose opportunities, they lose time, and worst of all, they lose trust in themselves. Because every time you bow to fear, every time you let it make your decisions for you, you teach your nervous system that safety is more important than becoming. And over time, your life becomes smaller, not because you lack potential, but because you've handed the steering wheel to fear. But courage takes it back. Courage doesn't mean the fear goes away. It means you move anyway. It means you feel the pounding heart, the shaking hands, the voice in your head saying, don't do it, and you still do it. Not recklessly, not foolishly, but intentionally. Because you've chosen to live a life guided by purpose, not by panic. Let's break this down. Fear will always be part of the human experience. It's hardwired into our biology. It helped our ancestors survive lions and cliffs and famine. But the same mechanism that once protected us is now the same one that paralyzes us in modern life. Today, it's not lions chasing you, it's doubt. It's judgment. It's the fear of looking stupid, of failing publicly, of not being good enough. But let me ask you, what's really more dangerous? Trying something and failing, or never trying and wondering for the rest of your life who you could have been? Courage answers that question. And it always chooses growth over comfort. When you start living from courage, everything shifts. Your relationship with failure changes. You stop seeing it as a sign to quit and start seeing it as a necessary part of progress. You don't take mistakes personally, you take them as feedback. You stop needing permission from others. You stop fearing rejection. You realize that other people's opinions are not anchors for your truth. You start choosing action over analysis, movement over perfection, real life over imagined safety. This is what separates the dreamers from the doers. The brave don't wait to feel brave. they decide. And here's the thing about courage: it multiplies. Every time you make a courageous decision, no matter how small, you add another brick to the foundation of your inner strength. You build momentum. You prove to yourself, I can handle discomfort. And the more you do that, the more you start to trust yourself. You stop questioning every step. You stop needing constant validation. You begin to live from the inside out, not the outside in. You become someone who faces life with open eyes and a steady spine. But you must understand, courage isn't a one-time event. It's a practice, a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows through resistance. It grows when you lean into the things that scare you, not all at once, but little by little. Start small. Speak up when you'd normally stay silent. Take the leap you've been thinking about for months. Say yes before you feel fully ready. Put yourself in situations that stretch you, not break you. That's how you build a courageous life, not by avoiding fear, but by walking beside it and saying, you don't get to lead today. And let's be honest, there will be times when courage is messy. You'll shake, you'll stumble, you'll doubt yourself. People may not understand you. Some may criticize. Others may walk away. That's okay. Courage isn't about applause. It's not about being fearless in front of a crowd. It's about showing up for yourself when no one is watching. It's about standing in front of your own mirror and knowing that, regardless of outcome, you honored your truth. You want to know what kills regret? Courage. Because even if you fail, even if things don't go the way you hoped, you'll have peace. Not because everything worked out, but because you showed up. You tried. You leaned into life instead of hiding from it. You'll be able to look yourself in the eye and say, at least I lived. At least I didn't let fear have the final word. That peace, that fire, it changes everything. It lights up your path. It draws the right people into your life, those who resonate with your strength. It silences the noise. It gives you freedom. And what's on the other side of courage? Confidence, clarity, growth, depth, mastery. You don't gain these things by avoiding fear. You gain them by using fear, by treating fear not as a wall, but as a doorway, by walking through the discomfort instead of turning away. So from this moment forward, make a decision. Stop waiting to become fearless. Start practicing courage. Start doing the thing that makes your heart race. Start saying what you actually mean. Start building the life you want. Not the one that feels safe, but the one that feels real. And when fear shows up, and it will, don't try to silence it. Don't try to make it disappear. Just look it in the eye and say, you may walk beside me, but you do not speak for me. You may exist, but you do not decide. This is my life, and I am choosing courage. Because courage, my friend, is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to let fear make your decisions for you. And once you choose courage consistently, fear loses its throne. And you rise. You build. You live fully, fiercely, and freely. That's the life you were born to live. Now you understand, fear was never meant to be your master. It was never meant to sit in the driver's seat of your life. It was a signal, not a stop sign, a test, not a prison. Fear comes to all of us, but only a few choose to rise above it. And those few, they don't just survive, they lead, they build. They become the blueprint for courage, not because they had no fear, but because they refused to bow to it. You've just walked through 12 powerful principles, not ideas, not theories, weapons, tools, truths, each one designed to pull you out of your hesitation and light a fire in your soul. But none of this matters. None of it if you don't act, if you don't move, if you don't decide that enough is enough, you're done being controlled by fear. You're done making yourself small. You're done waiting for permission. You're done living a life that's safe but soulless. From this moment forward, you walk differently. You speak differently. You train differently. You live as someone who has seen fear, understood it, and then rose above it. You are no longer a slave to panic. You are the master of presence. You are no longer chasing safety. You are building strength. You are no longer reacting. You are creating. You are fire. You are purpose. You are the end of fear. And when you live from that place, nothing, not criticism, not failure, not rejection, can touch the part of you that has already decided, this is my time, this is my path, this is my power. Have no fear. Act as if everything always works out. Because when you decide to live like that, it does.